You and I with Rashmi Shetty is a human library audio podcast bringing in stories of people you and I can draw inspiration from. Welcome to the third season of this amazing story listening journey. Ordinary folks, extraordinary lives, their uniqueness and individuality, making them interesting to talk to and to listen to. Each one of them completely connected to the voice in me and with motivational stories of moving beyond themselves to make a difference in the world. A reaffirmation of the fact open your eyes wider. The world is far more beautiful when we acknowledge the presence of both you and I. Our guest this episode is Teji Sethi, a Bangalore-based nutritionist-turned-poet whose bilingual works span free verse, haikai verse, and visual poetry. With a distinctive blend of sensitivity and lyrical grace, her poems and reviews have appeared in over 40 national and international journals and anthologies, including the Yearbook of Indian Poetry in English 2020 to 2024, Modern Haiku, the Haiku Foundation, Acorn, Wales Haiku Journal, and the Heron's Nest, amongst others. Her poetry often draws from musicality of nature and the layered narratives of the Indo-Pakistan partition. Her haikai work has been widely recognized, earning numerous awards and commendations. Her haiban on cancer, It Is, won the Muse India Triveni Award, and her haiga, Surgical Dreams, secured first prize in the Jane Ridgehold Memorial Haiga Contest 2024. Most recently, she received the Glass House Poetry Award in 2024 for her poem on cancer, Genetically Modified Landscapes of My Town. Having journeyed through cancer, Teji follows a unique path of art, poetry, and language, harvesting life experiences and transforming them into creative expressions while sharing positive vibrations across both her personal and artistic communities. She's also the founding editor of Thriya, a bilingual micro poetry journal. Hi, Teji. Such a pleasure meeting you once again, and welcome to You and I with Rashmi Shetty. When Nina introduced us and told us that you're a poet, I kind of got curious to know because you came across as somebody absolutely calm, collected, and very sure of what you want. As little Teji, were you also that quiet girl who needed a little prodding to come up and speak? Or were you somebody who was very sure of how to take your next step? What is your journey from little Teji to the Teji, the poetess that the world knows you today as?
First of all, thank you, Rashmi, for having me. I was a little hesitant because I'm not used to talking much. But when it comes to poems, I have a bag full of them with me. Yeah, you guessed it right. I was a very quiet and calm child. I lived in the world of my own. So there were two different worlds I was in. One was the conscious world, and one would be the world of my dreams. I was very meek, not as in submissive meek, but I was very patient. My mom would make me sit somewhere, I would sit there for hours together. So that was how I was. And I was a very sensitive kid, sensitive towards myself, to my own needs, and sensitive towards my peers, sensitive towards my family members. So that was one thing which was like very evident during my childhood, which everybody told my parents that I'm a sensitive child. I don't know it's a boon or a bane, but I was very sensitive.
Okay. And when you say sensitive, what exactly do you mean?
If I'm talking to someone, I was able to gauge that what that person is going through, the feelings. I was able to go beneath the surface. That probably was a God gift. I don't know. Now, when I look back, I see children around. I feel probably it was a God gift.
Okay, because children like that are normally very quiet in school as well, but very sharp when it came to picking up especially subjects like literature and emotions that go with them. What were your favorite subjects? How were you in school, and where did you grow up?
I grew up in a very small town. People have not heard the name of that town. It's called Banswara. It's in the lap of Aravallis. It's in the southwest of Rajasthan.
Hmm.
So, actually, before partition, my grandparents come from Rawalpindi, undivided Pakistan. And we had lands my grandfather had lands in Sindh. So that shared the border with Gujarat and Rajasthan. So that is how we landed in Rajasthan while my grandparents migrated. They came and settled in Ajmer. So I was born in Ajmer. But then my father like graduated from Ajmer, did his master's from Gujarat, and then he was posted as a research scientist in Banswara, where most of the time, like we lived in there for 25, more than 25 years, we had been there. That is my native place. I like to call it my native place. And it was the town was also very quiet. The vibe of the town it was on the bank. It is known as a land of 100 islands. River Mahi flows through it.
Mm.
So we almost lived on the banks of that river. So the childhood was in the lap of nature. That's how I got my poetry form. And as a student, yes, I was very obedient and attentive in the class. I was a front bencher, but my interest was not that much into literature. Actually, I was fed on both. Science came from my father, he being a plant scientist, and my mother is a postgraduate in Hindi literature, and she taught literature. So probably when she was carrying me and she was teaching, I got poetry from her. But I chose to pursue science.
And once you finished your 12th, what did you continue studying, and what did college life bring out of you?
Okay, when I was in 12th, those days, I'm talking of 91, I did my 12th standard. We had very limited choices. So one was engineering, which I was not at all interested in because I was very bad at maths. I hated physics. And what I was good at was life sciences. So I was very good in biology. I was good in zoology, anatomy, botany. Like I would have those plant names, botanical names on tips, and I would flaunt because my father came from that background. So in 12th, my mother wanted me to take medicine, but I knew I would be a good doctor. I knew that, but I didn't want to take medicine
Okay.
because I was too sensitive to handle patients. That I later realized that it was a good choice that I did not go into medicine. So what was the middle path was my father was into this plant sciences. So he said there's a new stream which is quite niche, that is nutrition. So that was coming up. I enrolled for that. So I got through and I studied BSc. I did my graduation in that. Then I took up food and nutrition in my master's and I did that. Then I got a chance to do internship at All India Institute of Medical Sciences, where there was this Department of Nutrition and Dietetics, the first ever Department of Nutrition and Dietetics. So that is how I landed up ultimately at the hospital working there. But that is when I knew that I did make a right choice by not pursuing medicine and by taking an allied field.
Okay, so you are somebody who was pretty sensitive right from the time you were little, and life took you towards nutrition and dietetics, and you're now in AIMS. AIMS is a place like any other hospital where life and death are seen at close quarters. And I'm sure in that department, you would get to meet a lot of patients as a dietitian as well. Did that even give you time to reflect and put your words out through poetry? Or did poetry take a back step at this point of time?
So Rashmi, I was not actually writing when I was in my college.
Yeah.
I used to be a news reader at school. I used to write my own quotes and recite them. I would do that, but I was not into proper writing.
Mm.
Poetry was there. It was in me. I don't know whether poetry chose me or I chose poetry, but from the times I remember, it's been there. Ames came as a U-turn.
Oh,
There, I would say this, there was life before Ames and after Ames.
oh,
If
really?
I have to divide my life into chunks, it would be before and after. Before Ames, I was a very, I had a very protected childhood. So I come from a small town. I have a small family. I'm elder of the two siblings. I have a brother who's 5 years younger to me. My parents are working, but they're 24 by 7 there for me. I'm in a cocoon. I don't know what actually the world out there is. And I gradually moved from that small town to like a big city, Udaipur. Then I went for a master's to Jaipur and finally landed in Delhi. And Delhi was an entire new world for me. And that too in Ames, that is a public hospital.
Mm.
And unfortunately or fortunately, in 1996, when I was doing my internship in Ames, there happened the biggest of air tragedies. That was a mid-air collision. And only Ames and Safdarjung at those times had burn squad.
Okay.
So all the casualties, like we had this Ahmedabad tragedy. Before that, it was Charkhi Dadri, it was known as 96. So they all landed up at Ames. And
Mm.
I still remember first day of my internship, and it was gory. The
Mm.
sight, I could not take it out of my mind. Finally, after so many years, when I've started writing those diary entries from my subconscious mind, I feel that I've started letting them go. I still have, I've got them published also. Some
Mm.
of the diary entries I used to write.
Mm.
So, and then I saw misery, I saw pain, I saw illness so close. So I thought, oh my God, where have I landed up? It's entirely different world. But then it gave me a lot of um, courage, resilience to see people getting better walking out of the hospital. Uh, so it was a learning. It was a great learning. I would never ever forget in my life those, like it was 3 month training that it then it extended to more. They asked me whether would you like to extend because they did not have much interns, but it was a strenuous job. Ames is an 8th floor hospital. We were not allowed to use lifts and we used to run up and down. And you get duties in all the wards. And one of the most beautiful experiences I had was in psychiatry ward. It was a ward where I was given this name Teji. My name is Tejinder. My full name is Tejinder, which I'm not that fond of. As a child, also, I used to ask my parents, "Why did you keep it? Sounds so. It's a male name." So my mother comes from a literature background. She made me understand that Tejinder, if you do the Sandhi Vichhed, it's Tej plus Indra. So it's such a beautiful name. Tej is the aura, and Indra is the king of gods. So you're blessed. So that is how, like, she made me explain. So one of the patients, when I used to visit him, and he used to address me as Teji Bachchan. That is how I thought, okay, let me keep my name as Teji, and then it became my pen name too.
You know what's at the back of my mind? You described it so visually, this entire journey that you are talking about, in names especially. At the back of my mind, the only question that was popping up is you told us you were a very sensitive kid. You could actually gauge people's pain while they talk without them expressing it. Was that something that made you connect to patients far more quicker, to people far more quicker? Because that was innate in you. And did that help in you becoming somebody they really love to talk and spend time with?
Yes, it could be so. Actually, we were trained to keep a distance, but
Yeah,
I would always cross that barrier. We were not allowed to sit on their beds, but I used to sit. I would read out one of
sure,
the
sure.
diary entries I've written in the psychiatry ward I had written, and it was a beautiful experience. Still remember those days. Do you want me to
Oh, yeah, please.
share?
Yeah, please go ahead.
I wrote it 25 years later,
Mhm.
and it got published in the Yearbook of Indian Poetry in English.
Ooh.
So it's a haibun which I write. It's a marriage of prose and haiku. So haiku are interspersed. Haiku or senryu are interspersed in between prose. So the title is Blame It on Amygdala. The smell of phenol floats in the morning fog. At the entrance, I slip my feet into oversized bata chappals. There is an eerie silence inside. Most of them are dizzy under the spell of last night's tranquilizers. I take rounds, filling their requisition forms. High protein diet reads this one. I prescribe 2 eggs. As I sign the form, a warm, sweaty hand grabs my wrist. I feel the faint quiver of his hands. He looks into my eyes like a satiated toddler and yells, "Thank you, Teji Bachchan. You are my savior." The frost bites of being alone, winter chill. The frost bites of being alone, winter chill. I smile and walk towards the next bed. He's sitting on the bed upright facing me. I know he loves to wear a stethoscope around his neck, enacting a doctor. At times, he even goes on rounds checking each inmate, scribbling a prescription in the air. He snatches my writing board, looks at me, and says, "You must never become a doctor. No, you must not. Never. Medical students, medical colleges make you insane, and you will land up beside me. Do you want this?" I nod in affirmation and sit near him. The head nurse gives me a stern look. I get up hesitantly. We aren't allowed to mingle with patients of this ward, a thing I could never learn. I whisper to him, "Eggs will make you sane. I'm putting you on a high protein diet." He winks at me and bursts into laughter. Sepia tones, a child poses with his tongue sticking out. Sepia tones, a child poses with a tongue sticking out. By the end of the shift, these rounds generally wear you out. Today, surprisingly, I feel refreshed. I know I have made them feel special. All it took was a couple of eggs. I slip back into my regular shoes. The board reads Psychiatry Ward. Visitors lounge, empty chairs await a call. Visitors lounge, empty chairs await a call.
Oh my God, this is so beautiful.
Thank you.
Really nice. I think you summed up the answer to my question with this poem. It's so powerful, Teji.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And it seemed like you recall every moment of that experience.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, unbelievable that after 25 years, you're writing it so vividly, like you just wrote it when you
Uh,
experienced.
See, Rashmi, that is why I came to haikai. Haiku was basically written by Zen masters, and haiku is all about being in the moment.
Mhm.
if you have read that famous poem Madhushala by Harivansh Rai Bachchan, that's one of my favorites, and I've I've made my daughter hear that like hundreds of times as a lullaby. She would hear that. So that when you study, you would know that Mr. Harivansh Rai Bachchan never, he was a teetotaler. He never ever touched.
Yeah.
And that whole poem he has written from his subconscious mind. There has been a research, the Freudian psychoanalysis with Harivansh Rai Bachchan's poem and the art of living. So I told you that I lived in two worlds. One was the conscious world and the other was the subconscious. So whatever went inside was must have been embedded for all those years inside. But whenever like I felt something like I got a trigger, or when I was hospitalized, or I as a caregiver was into the hospitals, I would come back and write down. So
Mm.
this is one of the like this is one of the many I've written those like experiences I had in Ames.
So you write it, you had written it down in prose, like a journal entry or a diary.
Yes, yes. Then I added because it was only lately, like in 2018, I learned haiku.
Ah, okay.
So now I know how to, and basically is written as a journal entry or a travelogue. So it has to be in present. One of the nuances of haiku is it has to be in present. So when you read it, you feel as if it is happening now, here and now.
Yeah. Teji, for somebody with a science background, and you said it's as recent as 2018 that you came into this, what is it that brought you from there into haiku poetry? What happened post your aims? You said you have a life before aims and a life after aims. So, what happened post aims? How long were you there, and what happened then on?
It was a very short internship. So it's not like medicos. It's a nutrition internship, and that too was like we were supposed to be there for I guess 6 weeks, but
Mm.
then it kept on extending, and I grabbed the opportunity to be there. And when I was back in '96, I thought, let me like extend my education or graduation, post graduation, and now I need to work more on nutrition because I knew that I really loved being a nutritionist. So I was into therapeutic nutrition in Ames because it was related to all diseases. So only one area where we did not venture was the liver diseases because it was a very complex area. So we used to accompany our seniors. Otherwise, independently, we used to handle all diseases. Like I planned cancer diets, I planned lactation, pregnancy, diabetic diets. So most of it was therapeutic nutrition. I was not into community nutrition or anything else. So when after 7 years of being in hostel, when I went back to my town, I thought I should extend this. So I did one postgraduate diploma in nutrition and dietetics from IHCA Chennai. And meanwhile, I got engaged. So I got an offer at Safdarjung Hospital, Delhi, and then at Nestle, but I could not take those as I got engaged. And then I finally got married in 99 and moved to Punjab. And I was in the heart of Punjab, Batinda, where obesity was bursting like anything. I started my own consultancy. I took a small place in my husband's center. He was working as a businessman, and I started doing. But the clients that would come for weight loss. And those days, these concoctions called Herbalife and all were like very, everybody was running after losing weight and trying those things, and which I was totally against because we had to take a note that we would not work at weight loss centers. How I came to poetry was, it's an interesting incident that in the newspaper, when I was reading in Indian Express, I read an article some girl had written, a young girl had written an article. There was a wave in Punjab. People were turning from non-vegetarians to being vegetarians. So she had written an article on the benefits of being a vegetarian, where she had misquoted some nutrient values. The article was beautifully written, but I just could find that there were certain things. So I wrote a letter. I'll come back to that. One more thing, like I was very fond of writing letters.
Okay.
As a child, I used to write letters to my friends, to my teachers who were transferred. Till date, I love writing, and that I believe that it is an art which is lost.
Yeah, yeah.
Handwritten letters. So I still have like a pile of 40 letters which I wrote to my husband during our courtship time. I used to, any problem, I would write a letter to the principal. I wrote a letter to the DM. I wrote a letter to Prime Minister of India. And one of the letters I wrote to was Deepak Vohra, one of the Doordarshan, and he read it out on the Good Morning. Some breakfast show used to come. Those days was telecasted, and he loved my letter and he read it out, and I suddenly became a celebrity at school. People were like, दीदी आपका वो चिट्ठी जो आपने लिखा था वो उन्होंने पढ़ दिया उस पे. So I was like, okay, letter writing is something. I mean, I knew the power of words. So I wrote a letter to the editor saying that the article has been very nicely put forth, but there are some facts. And being a nutritionist, I would like next day you must just publish the errata. And so he called me. He mailed me back asking my number, and he called me. I went to see him, the office, and he just offered me, why don't you join? Why don't you write for us?
Okay.
So I still remember, I'm very thankful that to that person. He was Vikas Kahol, and he was heading Batinda Newsline, which was a local newspaper, and it was run by Indian Express, the Indian Express at Chandigarh. So it was a local supplement that used to come. And I thought, okay, now let me try this out. So I told him I don't know how to write prose. I've only been writing poetry, that too in my diary. He said, no, Teji, I'll guide you, I'll mentor you, but you should do some. So I did a couple of cover stories for them. So that is how I got back into writing. And that was 1999, 2001, 2 years.
Okay. So clearly, life chose you in that direction, and circumstances made you understand. Sometimes, like your talent of writing, though you didn't recognize it, and you were somebody who always thought that I write poetry, life brought in people who made you understand and realize where exactly your talent lay. Basically, with, like you said, the power of words. 2001, 2002, you are doing this. And then how did life go on?
By then, by 2004, I had conceived my daughter. So I just took a sabbatical. And I was writing. Writing was just a pastime for me. So basically, I was working. Then I got a chance to work with MV. So they had a brand called, they have still have a brand called Neutralite, and that is a supplement, and that was a major brand. So I worked with them as a trainer.
Okay.
I took training at Delhi HO, and I used to train the distributors about the contents and about the processing of how the supplements were made and all. So I did that till 2003, and 2004 I gave up my job as a trainer. And but writing was always there. So I would keep on writing little articles or doing some cover pages or stories. I would do that. I would even sketch
Okay.
a bit, doodling and all. I would do micro poems. How I stumbled upon was from childhood. We have read all those dohas. And my mother used to make me learn all those dohas and recite them. So I remembered all those dohas. So I was way much. I knew that what a short thing, like रहीमन देख बड़े इनको लघु न दीजे डार जहां काम आवे सुई का क्या करे तलवार. So the power of little, the small. So I always wanted that. That's why I could not write prose, because beyond a certain point I would lose the track of writing. So I always knew that I would do something. My cup was always very small. So that's how micro poems. So there was a contest in 2007 run by Amul India, and they wanted a slogan. So I thought, why not send them one slogan to them? So I had written a slogan. It was 5 or 6 words. There was word limit, something was there. So I just wrote, and I won that contest. And they paid me 1 lakh for it, Rashmi.
Wow. Okay, and what was
They
your
took the
slogan?
copyrights. They took the
Oh, okay.
copyrights,
Okay.
and I was like, oh, can you earn from it? So it was like I was just sitting in my study, and I saw that there was a contest going on in newspaper. It was titled Amul Maharani Contest. All
Okay.
you had to do is to write a unique slogan. So coming from a Hindi, I still feel that my mother tongue is Hindi, though I'm a Punjabi, because that's one language I dream in. I'm not very comfortable. I write a lot of English poetry, and people say, but I'm not that comfortable even conversing in English, because that's a forced language that came from the convent where
Yeah.
I was educated. So I don't feel that comfortable. So what I wrote was, people would have written all in English. So I just broke that as an acronym, AMUL. 4 words: Amrit Manthan Karke Paya Uttam Lazeez Khazana.
Okay.
So it just, I just broke it down, and whatever came to my mind, and they were like, "Oh, this is very beautiful," so then I realized, okay, I should stick to my micro poems. Should not go for like longer verses. Like Hypen also it finishes in 3 or 4 stanzas. It's over. It's not that you are writing 3, 4 pages or 5 pages. So that's how I came back to, that was my turning point in like coming back to micro poetry.
And you're not a literature student. So how did you know these forms exist? You went online to search that, okay, my thoughts are, I love doing it in shorter versions. So are there some literary forms which fall under shorter versions? Who told you about all this? Or you did research on your own to find out?
No, I did not. See, I'm not that good a reader. Because somehow I feel that if I read a thing, my poetry would reflect
Okay.
that poet's thought or that writer's thought. People say you must read a lot, but that's why, see, that's how I write. I don't, and when I edit as an editor, I don't write.
Hmm.
So those months when I run Triya and I get poets sending me their haiku or senryo or tanka or whatever micro poems, when I translate them into Hindi, I take a break from writing, because somehow I feel that it goes, because I have that tendency of carrying things into my subconscious.
Hmm.
So that's not actually plagiarism, but that would be a subtle plagiarism, which I feel is not good.
Yeah, yeah.
So I never researched, but I kept on writing. So when I started posting them on Facebook, people used to come and say, Teji, your Hindi poems sound like haiku. That was first time I had ever
Heard.
heard the word haiku. Still, I did not bother to go and search what is haiku. I just kept on writing. It was only in 2018, my daughter also writes. So she had a chance to, she got selected for Katha National Young Writers Workshop in Delhi. We were
Oh,
in Bangalore. From Delhi, we moved to Bangalore in 2018. So she was here in NPS group of schools in Apple. She was studying, and they sent kids to Katha Utsav. So she went for the regionals at Chennai. I accompanied her. There she learned poetry. She was already into poetry. She was doing her classes as British Council in Delhi. So 2018, when we went to this National Writers Workshop, I met this famous haikuist from India. She's a mother of haiku in India, Kala Ramesh.
Okay.
And she mentored my daughter. So when my daughter's name is Ustad, when she came back, she gave her some homework. It was a 2-day workshop, and at night she was writing these haiku, and I was peeping into the laptop, and I said, "This is what I write." She said, "No, Mama, it's entirely different. This is different genre altogether. You have to learn it to write it. There are many nuances you need to. So please, if you want to learn it, don't look at my notes. Go and talk to Kala ma'am and join her." So that's how I met her, and I took workshops from her, and that is how I properly got inducted into haiku in
Okay.
India, haiku scenario.
Nice, nice. You know, there is this very famous quotation which says that life is what happens while we are busy planning. And I can see that happen so beautifully in your life. So, when did you decide that you have a good collection for you to go ahead and publish it? Or was that also something like this that life introduced you to people?
Life has been very, very kind to me. Touch wood. Like they say it's a bed of roses. It has been a bed of roses, almost. So I started writing during the pandemic. 2018, I learned. 2019 also, I kept on learning. It was 2020 when Kala started having these workshops online. So I got enrolled, I started writing, and she said, Teji, send it out to journals. So I'm also that kind of a person who would not share much, would keep it to myself. I never wanted, but social media has created such great platforms that we tend to share things. So she said, you send it out to journals, then we'll see. And once you get 100 rejections, then you should count yourself as a haiku poet. I said, fine. And I send these 7 haiku, a pair of 10 haiku to a journal, and 7 of them get through. That was my first attempt at sending to journals. But I still say, I mean, we must have rejections.
Yes.
They are must. Later in life, I started having rejections. So earlier, when I wrote, probably I was writing out of intuition, or so they were really good, and 7 got through. Then it gave me a boost that I must attempt more of these, and I started writing bilingual, like in English as well as in Hindi. So the poems I wrote from 2020 to 2021 went into the collection. It was only 1 year of writing those haiku or getting those haiku published, because you cannot bring out a book of haiku without them being published and vetted by an editor. So those were already published ones.
Mm.
And how I got that book published was, I've never had a book after that. There was an anthology that came into being in 2020, which is run by 2 great poets in India. No, one of them is Sukrita Paul Kumar. She's the guest editor of Sahitya Akademi, and one is Vinita Agarwal. And that anthology is known as the Yearbook of uh, Indian poetry in English.
Mm.
So you have to send submissions to that particular anthology, and there is a review committee that reviews your submissions, and then finally they choose, like it's like 800 to 1,000 entries they get. So first time I just picked, or as I wrote to, when there was a submission call on Facebook, I wrote to Dr. Sukrita saying, would you accept haiku? Because I knew that people are writing long verses and they are into free verse, and I'm not doing that. And I don't know whether this anthology is meant to anthologize all forms of poetry being written in India. And she said, Teji, we'll see, you just send. So what I did was, I just picked that lot, 7 first, and I sent those 7 haiku to Dr. Sukrita, and all those 7 got through the yearbook.
Okay.
And the publisher of the yearbook, then while reading those, he sent me a message on Facebook saying, "We want to bring out a collection." I said, "I'm very new. I don't have much." He said, "How many do you have?" I said, "I have around 80 to 100. He said, "We just need 80. You just send us 80 of your haiku and we'll see." And this is how Moss Laden Walls came into being.
Wow.
So that was again a serendipity
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
happened. And having your first collection commissioned is something I had never thought of.
Yeah.
I am against vanity publishing. I'm against self-publishing. I'm not against self-publishing. No, it's a good platform if you have like really a good collection. But being a person who would never share things out, I was a little hesitant doing that. And meanwhile, the same parallelly, there was again a contest by Partition Museum of India, and they were asking for partition poetry, and I had loads of it because I have had lot many narratives from my both my grandmothers, my nani and my dadi. So I wrote in Hindi. I can write long verses. I
Mm.
can write a novel also in Hindi. So in Hindi, I wrote a 2-3 page poetry, and luckily it also won the contest. And later it was translated into Shahamukhi. The script was Shahamukhi, and it was broadcasted over Radio Pakistan, Radio Lahore.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So then, like it was okay. The universe is telling you, I am meant to be here. Be here.
Yeah. Yeah. On reflection, I'm sure there are many such moments where the universe has spoken to you a lot more than any human around you to tell you that what path you have chosen is the path you're meant to be on. And when it came, what were the different topics that you were writing on? Only on life, on experiences? Was it philosophical? And do you have any of the poems, the first seven poems, any one poem with you?
Yeah,
If
I'll
seven were accepted so often, clearly there is something in those seven which was magical. So, any one of your personal favorites in those seven?
They were all my favorites. I still quote them because they were really, I don't know, maybe I was fresh into haiku
Yeah,
and I abided by all the things what were taught to me. Now we experiment a lot.
correct.
When I ask Kala that people are writing, they're not using that seasonal keyword, they're not using that kireji, the juxtaposition. She says, Teji, once you master the art, you get the liberty to play with the art. You are very new, just stick to that. So probably I followed that. So normally the basic nuances of haiku, it's just a 17 syllable poem. We don't stick to the syllable structure now. The modern haiku doesn't. So it's basically short, long, short. Visually, you should see a haiku as short, long, short because it would be 5, 7, 5. So one of the poems, and I write more of Senryu. Senryu is all about human emotions, human tendencies. They have a satire, sarcasm, all those. What you're not able to say directly, you just pack them in a Senryu and put forth. So one of the poems, I don't have a good memory after like chemo. So one of the poems was Cacti Blooms. It's very rare, cacti, when you see cacti blooms. Cacti blooms, your blunt remark cuts deep into me.
Mm.
This was one. Then there was a tender plant, a tender plant pushing through the cracks, symmetry. This this is just an observation. You have been to cemeteries, you see moss growing over graves, you see plants pushing out of from the cracks. So it's basically life and death juxtaposed.
Mm.
They are parallels. Where there's life, there's death. Where there's death, there's life. So one thing I learned was you have to be haiku is such simple poetry that we are told if a 7-year-old cannot understand your haiku, it's not a haiku. we don't come from that kind of poetry which is heavy loaded with literary devices or metaphors or embellishments. Haiku is being naked. It's writing what exactly you see. So when I was going through my cancer journey, I wrote some stark haiku, which people would say, "Oh, how could you write this?" But I could, because this is what I'm going through. This is what is presently happening to me. Why be shy of that? So there was one uh, haiku again that was highly commended was I use a lot of Hindi words, and Kigo is seasonal word, so I use Hindi seasonal words. So you'll find Brag Malar in my haiku, you'll find Papiha in my, so one of them was Papiha looks up at the sky, parched lips. So I wrote one of the haiku was when I was undergoing my journey was Purnima. Purnima, the fullness of my breast wears a scar. So there's a moon, it's a full moon. It's on the epitome of its beauty, and there's my breast. I have a scar, even moon has a scar. And there's something beautiful and broken that you have to accept. So that power came from haiku. I'll give all credits to haiku. Like that helped me sail smoothly through the journey. Because there was I had poetry around me every time.
Mm. And when did you take this journey with the poetry and cancer parallelly?
It was in 2023.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I mean, I've not even reached the halfway mark, what they call in like 5 years survival. But it was in 2023 May, and it was the day I was diagnosed with Buddha Purnima. I remember that, and that's how I wrote Purnima.
Yeah.
I was in May 2023, I was diagnosed.
Okay. Okay. And so when you look at life, when you see things around you, certain things are not as per plan, but you're able to overcome. What have been some of your expressions of those such moments, the unexpected that come in? Any poem that you think are your favorites?
Yeah. I had like, I tell that cancer is not a single, I mean, it's not a single term you use. Cancer is not cancer as a disease. It it's a full hamper.
Mm.
It brings along a lot of things. The disease is just the surface. It brings along a lot of fear, brings along anxiety, body image issues, then lot many things. So if you tell me to describe cancer in a single line, which I wrote a monoku. Monoku is a single line haiku. So was that from denial to acceptance and all else in between. So the moment you get diagnosed, you just go into denial. And it was same for me. Like being a nutritionist, being a healthy, conscious eater. Yes, my father had cancer, but he had colon cancer, which is not like it's not directly related to breast cancer what I had. Then I got my BRCA also negative, so it doesn't run into the genes. So how did I get it? Probably my stay at Batinda. I thought because Batinda is known to be the cancer belt, so 13 years of after my marriage I lived in Batinda. Probably that, probably something else, the environment, or probably stress. So first it was denial. Then it took me some time, like a week or so, to finally accept it. Like, okay, now I have it, the diagnosis is there, but like my surgeon, my oncos, and my psycho-oncologist, they all would literally fear me because I am from a science background. I would just eat up their heads. I made my surgeon draw the breast and tell me where he would cut, put the sutures, and show me what he's going to do. So, but then finally, yes, if I say it comes with like full acceptance, no. Till now, I haven't. I would be lying if I say I've accepted, I've been a cancer warrior or whatever you call that. No. But then what helped me was writing. I thought if I'm going through this journey, probably somebody else would be going through this journey. Why not write? And I posted. It was like a flood of poems all over Facebook, all over Instagram, and people reached out to me. Then they told me that they had been through this journey 2 years back, 3 years back. They were not able to write, and now they identify with what I'm writing. So that gave me the push to write more. And it was not always good poetry. It was rage, it was defiance. It was like shouting at people. I would write everything. I have one, two couple of them which I got published also.
Really? Can you
Yeah.
share? Yeah.
Yeah, why not? I would. And I normally my poems are titled, the titles come from science.
Okay. Okay.
One of the poems that won this Glasshouse Festival Award was Genetically Modified Landscapes of My Town. Because Bathinda is no more that Bathinda. It's genetically modified. The whole town is genetically modified. So this is known as the histopathology of emotions. The histopathology of emotions. I am. I am a million women who dread the touch of curious hands, kneading their breasts with a probe to look out for cells that went rogue. I am. I am the tsunami of defiance that rises from within them, a Bhagavat. A bunch of masked surgeons, like revolutionaries in their hideouts under dim lamps, mark the contours to plan an attack. Our breaths a battlefield. I am. I am a million soldiers. I am a million soldiers who come home amputated. No garlands, no medals await. No garlands, no medals await. They shout, bravo, bravo. They shout, bravo, bravo, their eyes still glued to our chests, looking out for cleavages.
It hits hard.
It does, but that's how it is.
Yeah. And now that you are in this reflective space, Teji, the biggest reflective space that the world was forced to go into was COVID. And there's a lot that altered in your life during COVID. So when you look back at COVID, it's been a space where all of us were forced to take a pause. Not that we liked it, but the pause shifted a lot in a lot of us. What did COVID do to you? How did it shift you? Did it shift you at all?
Yes, it did. Like everybody around. I've had from April 2021 to June 2021, I lost around six very dear friends and family members. They were all young. Most of them were younger to me. So at times I had survivor's guilt too. But when I look back at COVID, I would say, I would coin a word by saying that it was a phrase by saying that it was a Mother Earth's lament. She literally wailed, saying, please stop abusing me. It was a forced pause, actually. So that was one thing I look at COVID as, but I enjoyed being at home because I'm not that social a person. So I enjoyed that space, being at home, cooking for the family members, having Zoom. Moreover, I learned a haiku so that came as a blessing to me.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I don't know, I would have learned or Kala would have had workshops because she normally has live workshops and I would not have traveled to take a workshop. So that was one thing then from COVID, what I learned was learn to let go. We keep on holding a lot. We keep on holding people, we keep on holding lives, we keep on holding things, we keep on holding money. And I saw that people were opening up. They were talking to their kids about their bank balances, their uh, sort of like, which we never talked with our kids, like, what if?
Yeah.
And it came with a realization that today that person has gone, tomorrow it could be me. So that was looking directly into our eyes, and probably we have forgotten
Mm.
because we have a very short-term memory.
Yeah.
Probably looking back now in 2025, we must have. But for me, it was a long stretch. Just after COVID, I had cancer. So I had two C's in my life, one after the other, teaching me a lot. But as you know, humans are like, we have short memory, we tend to forget. So I keep reminding myself time and again through poetry, by writing and reiterating that we just need to let go.
Yeah.
One of my dear friends, who's also a cancer warrior, she's a wonderful poet, just a couple of days was talking to me and she was telling, we don't know, Teji, how to die gracefully. We need to learn that. We know that we are here for a limited time and we have to leave. So do it gracefully. That we need. So I've not learned, but I'm still holding on to life. But probably in the process, I would someday learn to let go of myself too.
And it's easier said than done.
It is.
Yeah. Three life lessons that you would like to leave us with at the end of this conversation.
I told you that I always had a small cup.
Yeah.
So anything could make me happy.
Yeah.
I had very, very little desires. And after writing haiku, I learned that the smaller the cup, the better it is. Because you don't need much to live happily. That's one thing. Small things have always been like, I've been always fascinated with little, small things. So, one lesson I would say is that then probably being a poet, I've learned that you are unique. You have a voice. It applies to everybody around, that you have your own voice, you have your own journey. There's a famous poetry by Basho, who's a master of haiku, has written about a frog jumping into the pond and making a sound of water and ripples. So I had written a small chapbook for kids where it said, everybody is a frog in the pond. There were frogs before you, there would be frogs after you. All you are doing is finding your own purpose or voice. So we don't look at other frogs, how well they croak. We keep on croaking and sharpening our vocal cords. Then, while you are in the process, you'll have rejections. We all have in different fields. I have had in poetry journals. Just throw out your poetry. But that's the way how it is. If you need to climb the ladder, you should accept falling down also from the ladder. That's how we have learned walking also, falling down. There's little things like, which I tell myself, and by telling others, I tell myself again and reiterate. So that's how it is. Like, you just need to hold hands and be that compassionate frog and let the other frog find their own pond, find their own ripple, find their own space around.
So true, because creating that space is what we do the entire life. And then we realize the space was never ours in the first place.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my God, this has been a very beautiful conversation with you, Teji. There's so much about the small that you taught us, and there's so much about the small that I take back, and much more. Thank you so very much for giving your time for this conversation on You and I with Rashmi Shetty. Praying for you, praying with you, And I'm sure you're meant to bring in so much more with what you're blessed with. God bless.
Thank you. Thank you, Rashmi. I'm humbled and I'm emotional too.
Thank you for
Thank
being
you. It's
authentic.
been great.
Likewise. God bless.
Thank you. Thank you.
With that, we complete this episode of You and I with Rashmi Shetty. Do let us know if you know inspirational people whose story needs to be heard. You can write in at rashmi.thirdeye@gmail.com. That is rashmi.thirteye@gmail.com.